I like it.
Wow, that was live.
Yeah.
It seems like that music has such a premium put on perfection. You
Yes,
know, where
that's
everybody's time and everybody's tone and every note is perfect. That seems like a big focus for them.
yes.
I was going to say, I was wondering what their studio process was like. Do they all play live together like jazz? You know, squeeze the soul out of it with multi-tracking.
Well, there's all sorts of different ways they approach it, but a lot of times, it's isolation booths and playing together.
It seems like they would have to, and her violin playing is very in tune. It's very and vocal when it needed to be. You know, those kind of blue notes that she'd put in there.
Hmm.
And she's got that mature thing where you don't do any showing off. You only play the money shit right there. Boom. You know, so that shows a lot of maturity.
Yeah,
Because you can tell that she could go ahead and do some sick stuff, but it's like, man, I don't do that. I'm a mature player, and I play the music.
yeah, and that piece, which kind of alternates between these kind of more lyrical, sections, and then suddenly it picks up and takes off on that kind of bluegrass energy, and then back again. It's a dialogue, and so she's playing that gentler part, which probably fits her personality better than the Hot Licks guys that want to rip on the bluegrass stuff. So that's partly out of that, structure of that piece too. But yeah, and I also think she's got this instrumental number in her show to showcase Jerry Douglas and Tominski and Rory Block, the banjo player, and give them a chance to stretch out and show their stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So I think in their show, that piece was probably meant to do those things. So she's taking a little step back since she's the star of everything else.
Well, that also shows maturity because a lot of times singers can't do that. You know, it's got to be all about them all the time.
You know who's another great singer in a similar genre and connected in a lot of ways that way is Emmylou Harris. I saw her band one time at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival with Sam Bush on mandolin and some other great players. And Sam Bush is a big ham. And he's just got super high energy, big smile. He's always laughing. He's just he's got this great energy. And she let him stand right next to her. It wasn't like, stay in the back, you're the backup band, don't mess up my thing. And very conscious of what those instrumentalists bring to her music, and that.
Yeah.
And so that I see a similarity between Alison Krauss and Emmylou Harris that way.
Cool.
Let's get on to our next artist, whom some people may have heard of, a guy named Stevie Wonder.
I thought he was called Ivets Redno.
That's right. Stevie Wonder. We all know him as the one of the greatest pop artists of all time. But he was a child prodigy who did his debut album at age 12, and it really focused on his harmonica playing. That's really kind of how he first broke out as a star.
And his early stuff, I remember it came up one time on Shuffle, and I just had my hard drive on Shuffle, and I was like, who is this fantastic female singer? She sounds so great. And it was, 12-year-old Stevie Wonder just blazing.
Oh, wow. And so this album, It's Red Now, came about, it was an instrumental album that came about because he recorded a version of Alfie on the harmonica that became a hit. And so they said, okay, we need an album of this stuff and to feature, Alfie and other well-known songs. So this was recorded when he was just 20 years old. Like we were talking about earlier, I searched and searched for some great examples of his instrumental ability. And that kind of means for me was like, where does this musician take a solo? Whether it's a rock solo, a blues solo, where do they stretch out and just kind of display their instrumental voice in a way that's not just always there to facilitate or accompany the singing? And it was hard. It was hard to find some pieces of him. Now, if you go on YouTube, you'll see him playing Chicoria, Spain.
Most famously, yeah. My friend was in the pit orchestra playing a show with Stevie, and he opened the show playing the shit out of Giant Steps.
There you go.
Just to let you all know that he's got the shit going on, you know.
Right. Now, why don't we have that album?
Hey, yeah, once again, you know, when it comes to making a record, the focus is always on a pop hit, and they don't let it rip. It's always disappointing for me. You know, it's like you have to go to the live show, I guess, and hope that he plays Giant Steps or some other thing.
Right.
But you know, he's playing drums a lot of the time on his records. Mm-hmm. You'll notice it's got a very specific, unusual feel that's unique to Stevie Wonder records, and that's because Stevie Wonder's playing drums on there.
Right. Yeah. So again, a multi-instrumentalist. He can, you know, anything he touches, he can play. But we're going to hear this older album from when he was just 20 years old, and he's playing harmonica on a song called "More Than a Dream."